listening to the Shared Security Podcast with Tom Eston and Scott Wright, exploring the trust you put in people, apps, and technology.
Protect your digital privacy with Silent Pocket's product line of patented Faraday bags, phone cases, and wallets, which will make your devices untrackable, unhackable, and undetectable. Use discount code SHAREDSECURITY to receive 15% off your order during checkout. Visit silentpocket.com today to take advantage of this exclusive offer. So welcome to episode 88 of the Shared Security Podcast.
Denmark.
Hey, Denmark. Excellent. Well, welcome to the show.
Thanks for staying up late for us.
Yeah, exactly. The time zone must be, I know that's much different than where we're at. We're Eastern time here in Ohio and Ottawa, Canada. So we are a multinational podcast.
3 countries involved here.
That's right. So, first, I just wanted to thank our sponsor, Silent Pocket and Edgewise Networks. We talk a lot about Silent Pocket, and they're great products to protect your privacy. So definitely check them out at silent-pocket.com for Faraday bags and all the things you need to protect your devices from all the different threats that are out there. Silent Pocket.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. And our friends at Edgewise Networks, of course, which when you listen to the podcast, we'll have a longer ad for them, but we appreciate their support as well.
Yes, we do. Thanks so much. And thanks for joining us. So what's our agenda for today, Tom?
So I think we want to talk about hackers that can remotely kill car engines after breaking into these GPS tracking apps.
Ah, yes. Is Charlie Miller at it again?
No, this is not Charlie Miller, the famous security researcher. This is someone completely different that goes by the hacker handle of L&M. At first I thought, isn't that like a clothing brand or something? But no, it's actually his hacker handle. So we'll talk more about that.
Yes, we will. And then there's the question of password change forcing, right? So Microsoft Windows is not going to force you anymore?
Well, they are changing their baseline security policy.
Oh, okay.
They are getting rid of the password expiration for that. So we'll talk more about that. But that is controversial because that's going to affect a lot of pretty much every business in the world that has applied that policy.
Right. Interesting. And then there is
the recent rise in facial recognition at airports. I know here in the U.S., it is becoming very popular. So interesting discussion to see if that is a problem in other countries like Canada or Denmark, right? Yeah.
Cool. All right.
And then just wanted to maybe finish up with a little debate about the debate of InfoSec versus cybersecurity. And because I see a lot of people referencing our field as InfoSec, and I also see them referencing it as cybersecurity or just security. So which is it? Like, does it matter anymore, or should we really all agree on a name?
Maybe I'm in the wrong field.
Convention. Really? You've been in InfoSec cybersecurity for how long, Scott?
Yeah, but which one am I in? Maybe I'm in the wrong one.
You might be. Maybe it's time to switch careers.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, that's cool. Let's do that debate. But right now, let's go back to killing cars remotely.
I love these killing cars stories, don't you?
Yeah, I do too. Yeah. Very cool.
I mean, it's scary.
And this one is cool. I mean, absolutely. So, I mean, it's funny because as we get new features in cars, we get more convenience, and just like in every other part of life, more convenience offers more complexity and vulnerability a lot of the time, right?
Yeah, it does. And in this case, so there's this hacker called L&M, and he broke into these GPS systems. Companies are called iTrack and ProTrack. And what the software allows you to do is you can install a device in, say, a truck or a shipping vehicle, I guess regular cars, and companies use them to track their employees, right? Or shipments or anything like that. And these systems actually integrate into the capabilities of the car to allow starting it, stopping it, unlocking it, those types of features. So this hacker found that their app actually allows the password of 123456 when signing up for a new account. And so he found 27,000 accounts that had their default password. And he was able to then write a script and a tool to go through and basically prove that he could shut down essentially 27,000 cars all at the same time. Because one of the features is if the car is parked or driving under 12 miles an hour and the engine is on, obviously, they can shut it down through this app.
Wow.
Yeah, that's not good.
Not good. It must have been the cybersecurity guys that designed that, not the InfoSec guys.
That's right. That's right. And yeah, as our friend here from Denmark has mentioned, that Tesla does offer online software updates for that, which is good. This one is interesting because I think it's like a third-party application and product that you buy from these companies, iTrack, ProTrack, that are used by fleets of vehicles. So it goes back to these defaults again, right? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I mentioned Charlie Miller at the beginning, and he's the sort of the first one that demonstrated the ability to hack cars right over the internet. And when you think about hacking cars, you think, okay, so like how is my car connected to the internet? But now we've got apps that companies are choosing to integrate into their cars, and so yet another vulnerability, right? Another way in that I had never thought of, but this is pretty cool, but not unexpected. Oh, your app can control things in your car. Well, that's that's a weakness there. And of course, if your authentication starts with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, well, somebody didn't do a lot of pen testing.
Well, it's these default passwords that get everybody, right? Companies are still setting these things as defaults, and they assume that the user is going to go in and change them. And in this case, 27,000 people didn't change it. We should never assume that people are going to change the defaults. This is a big way that hackers break into things, is because defaults are not changed or misconfigured.
So the interesting thing to know would be, this is actually sort of two levels, right? So clearly the apps or the products are being sold to businesses, and the businesses are the ones that control the fleets, right? So they should probably have some guidance from the app manufacturers that says, make sure that every vehicle that gets deployed has the password changed, right? Mm-hmm. You may or may not want to rely on every employee who's driving the vehicles to do that change, right? You might want to have a fleet manager or somebody do that. So there's a bit of onus, I would say, on the business when they're acquiring these things to do some security testing as well, right?
That's right. That's right. Never ends.
Yeah. So chat room says should be mandatory to update the password. Yeah, absolutely. It should be. And yeah, so if you choose to just deploy these things without doing that from the corporate point of view, you're going to get a lot of employees going, oh, have to change my password. What are they going to change it to? Password 1.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think it's really good point. Force the password change, but it should also be managed by the businesses. Now, that's not to say that these kinds of apps aren't going to be available to consumers, right? Maybe I'd want, for some reason, to be able to control my vehicle when I have my teenager out using it on a date or something, right? Who knows why you'd want to control your vehicle, but as soon as it becomes available in the consumer market, then you're right. You're going to have to have some password strength monitoring. I guess is that becoming a more common thing?
Password strength, like tests.
Yeah, for when you're forcing people to create a password, mm-hmm. Are you forcing them to create good passwords? Are there blacklists, or how does that typically get done?
Yeah, it's a kind of a combination approach. So one of the things actually in the next story we'll talk about with Microsoft is, it's recommended kind of in the industry that companies start using password blacklists, right? So users can't choose known insecure passwords, and you can get these password lists from previous password breaches, right? That they're all known junk passwords. So when signing up for an account, if it hits the blacklist, you're not allowed to use it. So that's a good approach. But also there's password strength indicators that we see on some websites, which I like personally, which will show you the strength of the password. And then, of course, the password length requirements and things like that are very important.
Yeah. And they should be in the apps too, not just on the websites, right?
Right. Yeah, cool. Completely.
Yeah. I guess the other use case that was mentioned in the chat room is if the car gets stolen, you might want to be able to shut it off too, right? So
Yes. And track it, of course. So there's definitely legitimate reasons for having GPS locators in cars from a security side, but also this story shows how it can also be abused.
Yes. Cool.
And all this talk about passwords, it's a great segue to talk about Microsoft coming out and saying that they believe that password expiration policies are stupid.
Does it actually say that in the article that we're...
Well, they don't say stupid, but if you read the article, they literally will say they need to go away, and they're just useless. So post that up in the...
It's funny that this is, I mean, I didn't read the article in detail. So are they claiming that they've discovered this, or like, because this has been pretty much known for a year or two, right?
There's been some scientific research. There's articles in the past. If you Google this, there's a bunch of research that shows password expiration policies really don't increase the security of users' accounts.
Yeah, especially if you're forcing people to have strong passwords, they're going to write them down.
Correct. So for those of you not familiar with that, it's basically if you work for a company, any major company or any company at all, most likely they've put in a password expiration policy of like 90 days, 45 days, something like that, where, you get annoyed that you have to change your password and you have to make it complex and meet all these. So the argument is that if your password gets compromised, you're going to change it right away anyway. An attacker, they've already got your password and most likely are using it within a matter of minutes or later for something else. And it's not going to matter anyway, because that 90 days actually leaves you more open when you think about it.
Yeah. It's still a good idea to change your password if you think it's been compromised, right? If a site that you use the password on has been breached, it's always a good idea to change it then.
Absolutely. So whenever you get those notifications that everyone gets like in their emails all the time of, hey, you've been subject to a data breach or your data has been compromised, absolutely change it. I also recommend signing up for those services. Have I been pwned is one. Troy Hunt's website that will notify you and send you an email if any of your email or like your username, like your email or passwords have been exposed in a data breach. Most likely it's usually associated with your email address, because pretty much every site you sign up for references your email address as your username.
Yeah, interesting. And in the chat room, they're saying Google does a good job of knowing your old passwords. So I didn't realize that. I'm hoping that they're doing it by hash, right? But not.
Yes, they are. They are.
Which means that it's more secure than if they're storing all your old passwords and checking. But
yeah, they basically do a hash of your password and then they store that, and then they will compare it. If it's the same hash, when you're creating a new password, they'll say, nope, can't use that anymore. You've used it before. Which is a good practice. But I tend to agree with Microsoft here that it's probably just best to not use it anymore. There's really not a point, especially in this modern age of attacks and how we see people being compromised. They had mentioned in this article that they always recommend using blacklisting, like we talked about, but also multi-factor authentication, which we need to see a lot more of. It's just not widespread like it should be. And that is a huge defense against having your accounts hacked. Yeah.
I think there's a big challenge in getting people to adopt it on a personal level. I think businesses have a better chance of enforcing it, but we would like to see more of it for sure.
That's right. So So yeah, and just so everyone knows too, with the link in the show notes, we'll have, this is really talking about Microsoft's security baseline. So they release this baseline every so often, usually when new operating system versions come out, and system administrators will take this baseline, and through Microsoft's group policy, they can apply this across all of their systems. So this baseline means that they're just not going to have it mandated as part of their baseline. So password expiration policies won't go away. Companies still can, still enable them, but if you're using this baseline, it's not going to enforce that across systems.
So I didn't read all the details, but if they're saying you don't need to change passwords very often, are they saying anything about any differences in complexity or length or things like that?
No, there's no change in the recommendations around that. And that is also up for debate, right? Should your passwords be 12 characters, 25, 64, 8, 7? I think the general consensus is as long as it's complex. And there's the argument we've talked about before on the show about passphrases, right? Passphrases are always better than passwords.
Right.
Mary Had a Little Lamb is actually more secure than password 1.
Yeah. Exclamation mark. Yeah.
Right. Yes, but Mary Had a Little Lamb with some complexity.
Yeah, is better.
Is much better, right?
It's always easy to make it a little better. Yeah.
Yes. Cool. Yeah. And now a word from our sponsor, Edgewise Networks. Organizations' internal networks are overly permissive and can't distinguish trusted from untrusted applications. Attackers abuse this condition to move laterally through networks, bypassing address-based controls to spread malware. Edgewise abstracts security policies away from traditional network controls that rely on IP addresses, ports, and protocols, and instead ties controls directly to applications and their data paths. Edgewise allows organizations to analyze the network attack surface and segment workloads based on the software and how it's communicating. Edgewise monitors applications and protects data paths using zero trust segmentation. Visit edgewise.net to get your free month of visibility. So have you been to any airports where they've had facial recognition, like before you board your flight?
Just in U.S. Customs. as you're going into U.S. Customs, there's a little
the US.
laser beam that hits your eyes, right?
That's right.
So, yeah.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I think it's only been rolled out so far in the U.S. because of U.S. Customs. The story we have is from the EFF, where they're talking about, how do you opt out of facial recognition if it's presented to you to board your flight? And the answer is you really can't opt out. If you want to get on your flight,
you can opt out of the flight. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you can opt out of the flight. Right. And they brought up an issue or a case with a woman on Twitter started talking about her flight. It was an international flight. I think it was back to the United States on JetBlue. And she had no idea that this was even, like a thing. And she went on Twitter and started complaining, saying, hey, what is this, guys? I didn't consent to this, and this is a violation of my privacy. And essentially JetBlue's answer was, well, this is what Customs and Border Control have implemented. And you're just going to have to abide,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it just opens up a lot of interesting things. Now, this system, from what I've read and researched, it essentially will take a picture of you, and then it uploads that and compares it to what it has on file on your passport, right? So it's trying to do some type of facial matching, essentially, between what's on your. So I assume it's because fake passports and other things like that. But also, it's to record who's coming in and out of the country much easier. So. I went through customs on my vacation coming back from the Bahamas last week, and I found it interesting how it's like a painful process now, even for a citizen of my own country. Like getting in, you have to go through this pre-screening where you have to, they take your picture there, and then you have to fill out the form, and then you have to go to a desk agent, and then they ask you more questions. basically the same questions that they asked you on the machine. And it's a lot of like redundancy that they put into it.
So was that for leaving the country or flying anywhere, or
was that entering?
Entering,
this was entering, coming back into the U.S.
Yeah.
From a foreign country. I was screened like twice, essentially. Once through an automated system, and then not through facial recognition. I don't count that as facial recognition. They just took my picture and they printed it out, and then that was used to match up the picture on my passport with the agent. This is completely different. This is basically before you board your flight, you are going to get scanned, and then they will let you on the flight.
Before security or before?
After security.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yep. Literally just before boarding. So.
Well, it'd be interesting to know what value add there is there.
Yeah.
I guess after they've gone through security, right? So.
Yeah. And our chat says they'd rather have facial recognition than X-ray systems. Yeah, X-ray systems are interesting. A lot of controversy over that too. Even the what do they call it? The micro scan technology. When you walk through, you get put your arms up, the full body scan, and of course they say, oh, those won't hurt you. There's no medical issues to worry about.
It's not X-rays per se. What does that mean?
Yeah. But that's a good point. You can actually opt out of that, right? You can get your, what do they call it? Frisked and freedom feel, I think is what we call it here in the US. Yeah. So, yeah. For freedom.
Interesting. Yeah.
The things we do for freedom. Yeah.
Yep. Cool. Yeah, it's an interesting discussion. I'm sure it's going to get more interesting as time goes on, right? There'll be facial recognition for everything. I mean, it's understandable from the point of view of, entering the U.S. There's that sort of homeland security paranoia, you sort of expect. But it's going to get worse, I'm sure, for other situations.
There's not so much paranoia in the U.S. with the TSA. It's just more the annoyance that, like, the TSA has just been known to be incompetent for so long, and they demonstrate that almost every time that you fly. And I'm not talking about all TSA. I mean, I understand it's a tough job. I wouldn't want that job screening, thousands of people a day. And I'm sure they have to deal with all kinds of just crappy situations. But, air travel is just a horrible experience. I guess maybe there was a day when it wasn't that bad, maybe in the 1960s, but it's terrible now. It's just
I wonder if our chat room has any comment in terms of how much worse it is going to the US versus flying within Europe, say, for example.
Oh, it's much easier in Europe. You just have to get to the EU, and then you're not screened anywhere else in Europe. Like when I went to London. When I went to Malta once, I got to Frankfurt and went through security, and then I didn't have to go through security again when I got to Malta.
Right.
It's much easier to fly around the EU.
What about getting into the EU?
I thought the security was sufficient. I didn't get any additional screening. I was just in London last year and went through British customs, and it was fast and efficient. And yeah, and they almost have. You could almost say they have more terrorism threat there than in some ways they do. Yeah, in some ways they do. They have a different kind of threat profile, I think, in Europe than in the United States. But it's just different. They just handle things a lot different, and I think just more efficient in Europe. Yep. Just like your garbage service in Canada. I mean, we have to pay for our garbage service in the U.S. I mean, out of pocket. It's not It's not part of our tax system. Yeah. So, you guys. Yeah, it's all easy when it's just taxed. Now if we can just get better healthcare. Well, I was going to say in our last discussion there, before we left, is I haven't flown to the States in a while, and I probably won't until there's some kind of a change occurring. They're not going to let you in the country. Yeah, I guess you know too much. Yeah. Or I might. It's kind of like when you have a high security clearance; it expires if you haven't been there in a while. So they might not let me in if I. Yeah.
anyways. So yeah, in the chat room they're saying that they're actually an American, so but in Denmark.
Oh well,
yeah, so
yeah,
interesting,
awesome.
So yeah,
InfoSec or cybersecurity, Scott?
InfoSec or cybersecurity? You know what?
What do you like? What do you prefer?
I find, because I do a lot of training and dealing with education of people who are not techies, I find cybersecurity makes a lot more sense. InfoSec, obviously, when you're talking to the community, everybody knows what it means. But outside of our geeky community, most people don't know what InfoSec actually means. So why use it?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's time to kind of retire the information security, the more formal term of InfoSec. I just see it slightly debated. Some people, there's a kind of a running joke in the community about, we need more cyber. Everything needs to have more cyber in it, right? Cyber this, cyber that. And so there's a little kind of a joke around the name cybersecurity.
Yeah, there's definitely a hype,
vendor
problem,
hype, right?
Yeah. But I mean, there's a lot of other problems too. So it's to me, it's not the biggest problem.
No. A name is not a huge issue. But I agree with you. I think, from how we name it to the outside and what people think of, it really makes more sense. And I've made the jump many years ago to just start using cybersecurity instead of information security.
Yep.
I think it just resonates better with people that when I talk to that are not familiar with what I do, except for when I say, I'm an ethical hacker. I get to break into systems, and they're like, wow, that's so cool. What is that? Tell me more. And then I say, oh, that's something you can do in cybersecurity. It's a career in cybersecurity. And they're like, oh yeah, okay. I know what cybersecurity is. And that makes sense, because it used to be computer security, I would say to people, because they didn't know what information security is. Like, what do you mean information security? Tell me about that.
I mean, sometimes when you're talking to a client, for example, their chief information officer or their director of IT, they know what InfoSec means, and they know you can speak in more precise terms then, and it actually matters and has value. But yeah, when you're talking to people who you don't know what level of knowledge they have, it's much better to deal with that. I have an interesting little story around that. So there was a client of mine, rather large organization, I call it public sector. And I got asked to look at a note that one of the executive level people had found or was given, and to comment on it. And it turns out it was a bulletin from the Chartered CPA, Canadian Professional Accountants or something like that organization. And it said 10 cybersecurity questions that the board of directors should be asking executives of your organization. And because this was a public sector organization, the question almost didn't really make sense because there are organizations within this larger organization that are meant to deal with this stuff. But what's interesting was the wording was cybersecurity, right? And nobody kind of knew how to answer it, because we have an IT security department. We don't have a cybersecurity department. And so I kind of had to start the whole briefing note to analyze the thing, saying, well, here's what cybersecurity kind of means in this context. And yeah, we're doing it. Don't worry about it. But there were a lot of good questions for sure. But it was kind of funny to me that the whole term cybersecurity kind of threw everybody off, just within the IT security world.
Yeah. So, things evolve, and I think we're at that point. We'll see if the rest of the community follows suit or not.
Yeah. What does our chat room think about cybersecurity?
Yeah. Well, they may not have an opinion one way or another, unless you're in cybersecurity. But it'd be interesting to hear.
Anyways.
Or if you're listening to this podcast, the recording, shoot us a note on Twitter or Facebook or wherever, and we'd like to hear.
Absolutely. Cool. Yeah. So it's the debate will continue, I'm sure.
That's right. So what do you got going on with you? Anything coming up? How's the business?
Click Armor is incorporating, and we are
big time.
We're accelerating. We have space in an accelerator hub here in Ottawa, and getting lots of cool stuff done. We're going to beta trials very soon. So anybody who's interested in trying out a game-based learning product for cybersecurity to educate their employees, I'd love to hear from you. So you can reach out to us. My coordinates are, well, on Twitter at StreetSec. We also have an at ClickArmor identity now on Twitter, which I haven't been very active on, but we will, as soon as we get incorporated, we'll probably be doing a lot more of that.
So we can we put that in the show notes? Are we?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
is that good? Okay, great.
I keep promising, and it's kind of getting tired probably for many of our users, but I keep saying I'm going to do a demo and live in the episode at some point. I do expect to. I'm hoping for next episode. We'll see.
Okay. But, yeah, it'd be great to see a demo. I love it.
Yeah, you could see Password Smash or Email Defender live in person. So.
Yeah, Password Smash. I like that. Is that like the Hulk? Like,
hey, we'll make it whatever you want it to be.
Good. It's good timing given, the new Avengers movie and stuff. So
yeah.
I have not seen it, so no spoilers.
No, I haven't seen it either. Don't expect to. So I'm so tired of the superhero movies.
How about Game of Thrones?
No, never watched.
No,
watched the first episode and nah.
Well, if you decide to pick it back up, it's a really good show. It's all the rage right now. Final season.
I'm more into documentaries,
Okay. Right.
Ken Burns stuff and Dirty Money and things.
Fair enough. Nice. So, all right.
Anyway. So yeah, it's ClickArmor's coming along well, and we're excited, and we can't wait to share stuff with you guys. So
good, great,
as soon as we can.
Yeah, I got the only other news for me is I'll be going to B-Sides Las Vegas this year as a mentor. Right. Which is pretty cool. So they have a great program called Proving Grounds, where if you're a first-time speaker in the security community, you can basically sign up to get a mentor, and we help, with your presentation, speaking skills, getting ready for your talk. You guide them through the whole process, and so I'm going to be part of that program, and I've got a great mentee that I'll be meeting with this week, so looking forward to it.
Awesome.
It'll be fun.
Well, maybe someday you can mentor me on that.
Oh, you're fine speaking. I've heard Tanya Janka. See, I almost mispronounced her name. She'd kill me.
Yeah.
She was all about you. Like, oh, you're Scott Wright at the conference.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's much more of a celebrity than I am now. She is. I don't know if you see her posting from like Singapore and Vancouver. And, yeah. So.
Tanya's awesome. Yeah, and if you haven't heard Tanya, if you want to learn about DevSecOps or DevOps and anything application security related, yeah, she is awesome. Like, she really knows her stuff. So I always point people in her direction, and she does some cool stuff. So.
Yep. Nice. All right.
That's all I got.
That's
We're
it.
out.
It's a rainy, snowy day here in Ottawa again. So actually, the floods
like
are
80 degrees in Cleveland.
Really?
It's hot.
Okay.
Yeah,
wow.
for once.
It
amazing.
was 4
amazing
degrees this morning, so that's like 39.
Yeah,
no, 42.
That's right. You're on that Celsius system.
But we actually have really bad flooding in the river here that goes through Ottawa. A lot of people are losing their homes along the shoreline, so it's not good.
No.
And we're getting more rain, which is not good too. So
we'll try to stay dry, Scott.
I will.
All right. And thank you to our friend in Denmark and all the other chatters. This was great. Really appreciate it. I think we'll try Get Vocal again. I liked it a lot. I thought this was a cool kind of interactive platform.
Yeah, looks very smooth and good quality.
Yeah. Now we'll just get the Facebook stream up. Yeah. Next. But
excellent.
This is cool.
Good stuff. All right. Thanks a lot for setting it up, Tom. And thanks for the folks watching. And we will catch you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.